Welcome back. We will continue the Kautilya. We were discussing about, you know, what is Kautilya's view on leadership, and we were at the last part uh, of the discussion on his concept of leadership. As I mentioned that, uh, you know, the Arthashastra is a framework for building wealth, welfare, and well-being. You know, uh, Arthashastra talks about righteousness and the generation of the wealth. Then Arthashastra talks about how to establish a welfare society, how to, you know, uh, use those wealth for the well-being of individual and welfare of the society. Then I said that the leader or the king must allot time for himself for meditation. So, what is this meditation? Meditation is actually connecting uh, your inner conscience with a larger, you know, energy which is exist in the metaphysical world. By doing so, you reduce yourself to the zero, and then you try to see uh, where you are wrong. So, meditation is actually a method of self disciplining. So the leader needs that self disciplining mechanism, right? And why this meditation is required? Because there is a gap between the inner self and outer world. You know, uh, there is a, outer world is characterized by, materialism, and there are different invisible forces, and inner world is all about your conscience, morality, virtue, wisdom. So in every individual there is a conscience, there is a inner world. So since there is a gap between the inner world and outer world, this meditation is required in order to adjust your inner world with the outer world, and the outer world uh, to the inner world. Then I said that the essence of leadership lies in the ethical foundation. Therefore, the leader should adhere to the justice and ethics. So leaders should not be strategical always. Leaders should always be should also be based on ethical foundation. So a leader uh, should not be he should not be against the ethics. He should not be against the justice. So strategy is not to do unethical works or do injustice. Strategy is to sustain the justice and ethics. You remember in Mahabharata, I know what the Lord Krishna's approach, that if you want to defeat injustice, and for that, if there is a requirement to do injustice, then injustice against injustice is actually the justice. So next, on governance in the Arthashastra, I mean, what are the you know what is mentioned in the Arthashastra on governance? The Arthashastra is a manual for practicing politicians, where Kautilya prescribes specific tested administrative procedure. So I have not detailed those administrative procedure, but that detailing of administrative procedure is there in the Arthashastra, and it is still being taught as a manual for politicians, for leader, for in the management institution, to understand governance and to practice or to implement all these principles to govern. The important aspect of governance is actually the danda, that is called coercive authority. And when that danda will be given, when officers don't meet their task, and when citizens don't obey the rules and regulations. So the first is that when officer do not meet their task. So there is some you know uh, if there is any lack of any lacking so far as the task of officers are concerned, or we can say that these officers are a leader, and they are also like king. When raj dharma is the first the raja should do the dharma, then the praja, then the subject will do, right? So if the politicians are not doing their dharma, and they are pressurizing the subjects, the praja, to be guided by the dharma, then there will be agitation, and the praja will not be guided by the rules and regulations. So danda will be given to first those officers who are not meeting their task, and second, when the officers are meeting their task, they are doing the appropriate function. Then second, uh, you know, uh, citizens will be checked whether the citizens are obeying the rules or regulation or not. Right now, Kautilya conceived danda to be the surest and the most universal mean of ensuring public security as well as the stability of social order. So through danda, individual gets security. Through danda, the virtue, the wisdom gets security. Through danda, the society gets security. The drunken person, the person who is a rapist, the person who is taking wine and losing his control over his body, mind, and spirit, that person afraid of the society, and society will control that person. But unfortunately today, in my experience, I hope that my experience will be similar to you, that how society is afraid of all kind of negative forces, right? So this danda, it is a universal means for securing public security, and danda, stabilizes the social order. Why social order? The danda stabilizes the political order. So danda, punishment, is not a negative means uh, in the philosophy of Kautilya. The purpose of punishment is not to punish. The purpose of punishment is to develop the security and stability. That is the purpose. Right? But today, we want a punishment-free society, and personally, I don't like, because we are promoting the negative freedom, and we are facing the consequences, and we will also face the huge destructive consequences in future. Now Kautilya contemplates the universal application of danda irrespective of offender's rank and status, right? So if it is the prime minister, even the prime minister can be given danda. The king uses danda, the king can be given danda also. So it doesn't matter what is the offender's rank, whether he is a Brahmin or he is a Dalit leader, doesn't matter. A offense is a offense, and offender should be punished. And government officials could enrich themselves either by cheating the government or by exploiting the public. He prescribed punishment for both types of fraud. Now, Kautilya talks about two kinds of fraud. So, two kinds of fraud by the government officials. So, as I said, Raj Dharma is very important. Then Praja Dharma. So, these government officials who are part of the Raj, or who are part of the governance, these government officials, they either cheat the government or exploit the public, right? Cheating the government and exploiting the public. Cheating the government is also exploiting the public. But sometimes you don't cheat the government, but you try to, when I'm saying you are not cheating the government, at least it means that you are uh, making it possible to reach a policy from the government to the people. But then, if you exploit the public, then punishment will be given. So here, basically, you know, uh, Kautilya talks about either development public administration or new public administration, where the administrators will are supposed to be friendly to the subjects, to the citizens, right? So this is, even if you are not cheating, you may exploit the public due to various reasons. So Kautilya considers that cheating the government is one thing and exploiting the public is another thing, and both the things are punishable offense, and both are two kinds of fraud. Now, public enterprises must also profit oriented. He suggests for mixed economy. If the officers who do not generate adequate profit in the crown, then he must be punished. Now, all these officials, no doubt they are part of the development administration or the new public administration, but at the same time, they must be profit oriented. They must generate wealth. They must provide adequate profit in the crown. If they are not providing, then there will be punishment for them. So Kautilya doesn't talk about the private enterprises. He talks about the public enterprises and talks about the mixed economy. And in the mixed economy, there is a balanced approach between gross domestic happiness and gross domestic product. There is certain welfare policies and there is growth policy, right? Now, let's come that what Kautilya talks about HRD, human resource development, right? Human resource development means what? Human as a resource. How to get the best from that resource. Human as a resource. Now, he talks about to get that best aspect of the individual, the state must be careful when it recruits the officials. Now, Kautilya is saying the officials must be selected through recruitment where they must pass four kind of tests. The first, the wealth test. Second, the virtue test. Third, the pleasure test. And fourth is the fear test. Now, those who passed all the four tests are appointed as the minister. And when the right person is recruited in the right position, then that right person can again opt the right individual. And when the right individual are placed in right situation, then maximum benefits from the human resource can be ascertained. Now, what are these four tests? What wealth test? What is that wealth test? That whether the officials is having the appetite of wealth or not. Is he doing the job because of the salary? That is wealth test. Then the virtue test. What the official is saying, is it ethically, legally correct? If it is correct, then wow, whether that officials does whatever he or she preaches or speaks, If there is a gap between saying and doing, it it is not virtuous. Then the pleasure test, whether the officials is guided by the five senses or not. If the officials is guided by the five senses, then that officials is a evil official. That official will misuse his position, post, power to satisfy his senses pleasure, sense pleasures. Then fear test, whether the officials is fearful or not. Kautilya wants the Amaitya or ministers not to be fearful to the king. They are expected to speak truth to their king without any fear. And if all these four tests will be applied in the modern recruitment, whether it is assistant professor, whether it is administrative officers, or any grassroots soldiers. I'm using soldiers because we all are fighting. So soldiers are not who are actually fighting in the border. We are also soldiers. We have to ensure the public security, and we have to ensure the stability of the system. So if all these four tests will be applied in the modern recruitment, then certainly human as a resource can be developed and better contribution human as a resource can make towards that public security and socio-political stability. Then let's come. What is Kautilya's views on the social structure? To Kautilya, the structure of the society is varnasrama, right? Whether it is Vyas, Vedvyas, Kautilya or Manu, they are theorizing their existing situation. And almost all have justified this varnasrama structure. And you all know that these varna are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Now there is second aspect of the varnasrama, that is varna. Actually, varnasrama means what? Varnasrama means varna and asrama. Varna, there are four varna and there are four asrama. The four varna are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and the four asrama are Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. And these varna are not categorized in order to develop superior or inferior complexity, in order to dominance on one another. This varna is basically the economic division of the society, where all these varna is interdependent and interlinked. And your varna, no doubt you are born in a particular varna, but there was social mobility when this varna system was prevailing. Basically, the kind of potential you have, the kind of work you do, you enter to that varna category. And there was nothing wrong in that varna category. Caste system is different from the varna system. And this asrama, brahmacharya, gruhastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa, in the brahmacharya, education will be given to you. In the gruhastha, you will use those education in order to develop your family and in order to socialize your children. And there is a time of vanaprastha where your children, grow. Then you leave every material pleasures. In sannyasa, you even lose appetite, okay, there is some problem actually. So, in brahmacharya, you get your education, you get your virtue, wisdom. In the gruhastha, you apply those virtue and wisdom and contributes to your family. And in the vanaprastha, you leave all these, material world, whatever you have achieved in your grihastha. And in the sannyasa, you lose your appetite over your life. You get a feeling that your body is not yours. There was a purpose you enter to this world. Now you have satisfied that purpose. Now it is the time to make a departure from this earth. That is sannyas. And these are the varna and ashrama. These were the important social structure mentioned in the Arthashastra. Now there are two kinds of Brahmans according to the Kautilya, that is Kshatriya Brahman and general Brahman. And what is a general Brahman? Now general Brahmans are those Brahman who perform the ceremonial and sacred rituals. Those who worship, they are the general Brahman. What is the Kshatriya Brahman? Now Kshatriya Brahman are those who are having special privilege in social relation, property ownership and laws. So I also belong to the Brahman category, but I am not a general Brahman, I am a Kshatriya Brahman. Because I have some privileges in the society, I have some property. So I am not a poor. But the general Brahman, they are very poor. The general Brahman can become the Kshatriya Brahman, but it is difficult for the Kshatriya Brahman to become a general Brahman. Right? Now there is another different kind of Brahman, that is Purohit Brahman. They are the royal chaplain and the advisor. He enjoys position secondary to the royal family and exercise good deal of influence on king. That is called Purohit Brahman. And who is this Purohit Brahman? Now Brahman that is associated with the royal family, right? It is associated with the royal, family. He is the advisor to the king and he enjoys the position secondary to the king. King always acts according to his advices, right? And he has a good deal of influence on king. Then the Brahmins could bear arms as well, but they were not supposed to be overtly material in temperament and war. Now this is very important. If you remember the Dronacharya, right? Dronacharya was basically a Brahmin. He was a guru of Kaurava and Pandava. But he was also a great warrior. As long as the bow and arrow was in his hand, nobody could defeat him. And he declared that when I hold a pen, I become a teacher. And when I hold a bow, then I become a fighter. And Kautilya was having similar kind of mindset. He's saying that Brahman not only teach if there is any situation, the Brahman can also fight, should also go to the war field, can also bear the arms and ammunition. However, the temperament of Brahmin should not be like Kshatriya. The temperament of Brahmin should not be material in nature. Now, Kshatriya in Arthashastra were regarded as the protector of the land. Hence, their nobility of birth were considered matters of overriding importance. Right? So, Kshatriya, who are the Kshatriya? The person who protects the land, he is a Kshatriya. Territory. And it is, I mean, birth to a noble Kshatriya family is considered nobility. Right? So if you are born in a Kshatriya family, then it is considered that you are a good soul because you will protect the territory, you will protect the praja, citizens. So protecting the praja is considered as a greatest virtue. And in the Arthashastra, it is mentioned male, son, sorry, male children could succeed a king. That means the woman cannot be a king. The male person will be a king. Because to protect the land, masculine power is very important. Masculine quality is very important. So that's why the male children of the king will succeed a king. Now, Vaishya as a Varna is seldom mentioned in the Arthashastra. But traders, merchants were an important segment of the society, right? So very rarely in the Arthashastra, Vaishya as a social category has been mentioned. But in any kind of society, you see, they are a very important part, segment of the society. But Sudras were mentioned. Who are the Sudras? Sudras were mentioned in the Arthashastra. Who are the Sudras? Now basically they are agriculturalists, they are artisan, they are craftsmen, actors and entertainers. So those who are farmer, those who belong to the artisan class, those who are actor and entertainer, they are the Sudra. And Sudra to Kautilya should not govern the state because they lack all those qualities. But interestingly, today you find that all these actors and entertainers, they are joining politics. And the kind of politics they do, it is reflected the kind of society today we are living within. The kind of political structure today it is operating. So Sudra could never be taken as slave. They formed a larger section of the society and usually lived in an inhabited area. So Sudras are not slaves. They are a social category. Their number is very large in the society and they live at the end of every village. Both Vaishya and Sudra were recruited in large number in the army by Kshatriya. They are the foot soldier, Vaishya and Sudra. But Kshatriyas were highly regarded as the best soldier. So Kshatriyas are the best soldiers. Sudra and Vaishya, they are the foot soldier. They are recruited by the Kshatriya in the army. Women were not supposed to be always subject to patriarchal control. Sorry, women were supposed to be always subject to patriarchal control by father, husband, and son. Now you can think about, you know, feminist perspective on Kautilya. Kautilya was very categorical to him that women should not be given freedom. They should be always subjected to patriarchal control by the father, husband, and son. And why Kautilya said it? This is the question we need to think. Why Kautilya said it? And there are also some non-Aryans who were called the Chandala. I mean, there is another category besides this Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, that is Chandala, who were probably untouchable. Today we called those are called Chandalas, or today to whom we call untouchable, Kautilya calls them Chandala. Now, they are untouchable in their relation with an Aryan woman, right? So these Chandalas, they were, you know, kept distance from the Aryan woman. That means they were touchable. Perhaps they were touchable to the Aryan men, but they were untouchable in their relation to the Aryan woman, because they are the Chandal, they are the untouchable. I mean, uh, whatever they do for the society, it has a very negative consequences to the psychology to the Aryan woman, right? Now, Arthashastra also reflects the unsubdued jungle tribe who lives in their own territory, who were numerous, brave, fight in the daylight, with their ability to seize and destroy the country, behave like king. These tribes were outside the pale of Varna system. Now, except Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and Chandala, there is mention of tribe in the Arthashastra. And these tribes, according to the Arthashastra, that these tribes lives in their own territory in the jungle. Their number is huge. These tribes are very brave. They fight in the daylight. They have the ability to seize and to destroy a country, and they behave like king. In Kandhamal, it was the land of Kandha. Kandha is a tribe. In Kandhamal, the Kandhas, they think that they are the king. So they behave like a king, and these tribes were the outside the pale of the Varna system, right? So this tribe can be Brahman, can be Vaishya, can be Kshatriya, can be Shudra. So tribe has no connection with the political system. Sorry, in the social system or social structure. So we see there are two categories besides this Varna system. This is that is called the Chandala and the tribe. So this is all about the social structure mentioned in the uh, you know mentioned in the uh, uh, you know Arthashastra, right? So next class we will deal with economy. Uh, I mean Kautilya's concept or Kautilya's views on economy and his views on the state. And next class we will bind it, bind your Kautilya. Then we will move to the next section. So thank you very much.